Welcome back, students. Today we are going to talk about what happened later in the story should Wizard hit Mommy. In the previous video we have discussed that the roses skunk, it was converted into the smell of roses. Now the bad smell, it was nowhere from his surroundings and from his body. He was smelling like a rose. So we will continue from here what happened later. He paused as a rapt expression widened out from his daughter's nostril. अब जो फादर जैक था वो रुक जाता है, कुछ क्षण के लिए रुक जाता है। क्यों? क्योंकि उसकी डॉटर की नाक से एक एक्सप्रेशन निकल करके आता है, फोर्सिंग हर आईब्रोज अप and her lower lip down in a wide noiseless grin. अब हो क्या रहा है कि उसका फेशियल एक्सप्रेशन बताया जा रहा है। जो डॉटर थी वो इतना ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड हो चुकी थी, इतना खुश थी उस समय कि उसका जो आईब्रो थी वो ऊपर की तरफ जा रहा था, लाइक दिस, आईब्रोज अप एंड हर लोअर लिप डाउन इन अ वाइड noiseless grin, and lower lip it drawn in a wide noiseless grin as expression in which Jack was startled to recognize his wife's winning pleasure at a cocktail party. So now she was resembling like her mother to Jack. The pleasure that her mother used to express after cocktail parties, she was expressing the same. And all of a sudden he whispered, and that is why he thought that Joe was not going to sleep. So he whispered. The whole inside of the wizard's house was full of smell of roses. Now Jack continued his story, and he told his daughter that entire house of the wizard's house, the entire of the wizard's house, it was smelling from the smell of roses. Roserfish cried. Roserfish cried, and the wizard said very cranky, that will be the 7 pennies. And his father continued, and he said, after listening this, Roserfish cried. And then wizard said that it will cost you 7 pennies. In the same meanwhile, Daddy, now Joe uttered an exclamation of surprise. Daddy, what? Daddy said, what? Rosa skunk. You said Rosa fish. You said Rosa fish. It is not the story of Rosa fish, Daddy. It is the story of Rosa skunk. Yes, skunk. You said Rosa fish was not that silly. Now Joe was putting a question over the mental level of his father, of her father, and was saying, was not that silly that you were calling that as a Rosa fish? Very silly of your poor stupid old daddy. Anyway, where was I? Well, you know about the pennies. Now you know very well about the pennies. Say it. But Joe asked, you just repeat the words. You just repeat the story. Even though she knew what will happen now. Okay. Rosa skunk said, but all I have is 4 pennies. I have only 4 pennies. And he began to cry. And after doing this, after uttering this, he began to cry. Joe made the crying face again. Now, Joe was feeling the same excitement in her body and was making the same facial expression. But this time without a trace of sincerity. But there was not honesty. Those expression was not real. She was just trying to copy, as she knew what is going to happen. Okay? So this annoyed Jack. Why? Because downstairs some more furniture rumbled. Because from the bottom of the house, from the ground floor of the house, some noises were coming out, and those noises were of dragging the furniture from here to there. And Claire should not move heavy things. Now Jack was thinking in his mind, Claire should not move heavy things. Why? Because she was 6 months pregnant, and it would be their third. Now we come to know that the third baby of Jack is approaching. So the wizard said, "Oh, very well, go to the end of the lane and turn around 3 times and look down the magic well, and there you will find the 3 pennies. From where the animal can get the 3 pennies? The animal can get the 3 pennies by the end of the lane, and there he will turn around 3 times, and then when he look into the well, he will find 3 pennies over there." Okay. Then so Rosa Skunk went to the end of the lane and turned around 3 times, and there in the magic well were 3 pennies. So he took them back to the wizard and was very happy and ran out into the woods, and all the other little animals gathered around him because he smelled so good. So he returned those pennies to the wizard, and then after he came back, he returned from the wizard's house and went to the jungle, and there he enjoyed that evening with all the animals, as he was no further he was smelling bad. Okay. And they played tag, baseball, football, basketball, lacrosse, hockey, soccer, and pick up sticks. All these games he played. Now once again, the curiosity of Joe. Have a look. What is pick up sticks, Dad? What is pick up sticks? So this shows that how curious the children are. It is a game you play with the sticks. Now Daddy replied, it is a game that we play with the stick. And like the wizard's magic band, Joe questioned once again. It was like the wizard's magic band. Kind of. And they played games and laughed all afternoon. And then it began to get dark, and they all ran home to their mummies. And finally, when it was going dark, they all returned to their mummies, means they went back to their home as it was going dark. Jo was starting to fuss with her hands to look out the window at the crack of the day. Now, Jo was just trying to look out of the window in order to find out whether it is day or not, whether it is about to night or not. And then, under the shade, she thought the story was all over. Now it was in her imagination, she was thinking, now the story is all over. Jack didn't like the women when they took anything for granted. Actually, this is the habit of female. They assume the things like the things were. And Joe didn't like this habit. And that is why he apprehensive, hanging on his words. Now Joe, are you listening? So he asked, Joe, are you listening? Are you listening my words? Joe said, yes. Because this is very interesting. Brother Skunk's mummy. What's that awful smell? Now he also said, now it is going to be very interesting. Brother Skunk's mummy said. Now he said, when he returned home and he reached home, his mummy replied, what's that awful smell? Who is smelling like this? What? Now Joe remarked, what? Means her mummy didn't like the smell of the Brother Skunk. And the Brother Skunk said, it's me, Mama. I smell like roses. And she said, who made you to smell like that? Who made you to smell like that? And he said, the wizard. And she said, well, of all the nerve, you come with me and we are going to right back to that very awful wizard. We will go back to him and we will ask why you did it. Sees Joe sat up, her hands dabbling in the air with a genuine fright. Now there is a fright. Now Jack was got success in creating enthusiasm, in creating surprise. But Daddy, then he said about the other little animals and run away. But daddy, then all the animals would run away from her hands, skirted off into the underbrush. Alright, he said. But mummy, all the other little animals run away. So Rosa Skunk said to her mother, but mummy, if I would be smell like once again the prior one, then definitely all the animals would run away from me. And she said, I don't care. I don't care. You smelled the way a little skunk should have, and I'm going to take you right back to that wizard. I'm going to take you to that wizard, and you will have to smell like that one. And she took that umbrella and went back to the little skunk and hit that wizard right over his head. So by the stick of the umbrella, she went to the wizard's house, and there she hit him on over his head. No! Jo said. She put her hands out to touch his lips. Now she put her hands out to touch his lips. Now Jo just wanted to stop his father from telling further, but yet even her hesitation didn't quite dare to stop the source of truth. But in her fright, in her excitement, she couldn't get success in stopping the source of truth. That is the mouth of his daddy. Her daddy, okay. Inspiration came to her. Then the wizard hit her on the head and didn't change the little skunk's back. Now there is an idea that came into the mind of Jo, and she was thinking, when mummy hit wizard, then definitely in return wizard will also hit mummy, and he will not change Rosa Skunk once again into the natural. No, he said. Now her father said, no. The wizard said, okay. Wizard said, okay. And Rosa Skunk didn't smell of roses anymore. He smelled very well again. Once again, he was smelling very well again. Okay. So Johnny, but the other little, so she was repeating like this. She was behaving like this. What will happen to the other little creatures? They will not play with the Rosa Skunk. It will be very horrible from the Rosa Skunk's point of view. Johnny, it's daddy's story. Now, Jack was interrupting again to her daughter, and we come to know for the first time, the full name of her daughter, that is Johnny. Shall daddy not tell you any more stories? Now he was just trying to blackmail her daughter by asking, shall I not tell you any more stories? Why are you interrupting in my personal thoughts, in my personal matter, in my personal story? It's daddy's story. Okay? So her broad face looked at him through shifted light, stunted, and that is what happened then. Now her father replied to her, and he said, this is what happened then. And Rosa Skunk and his mummy went home, and they went home from wizard's house finally. They went away from there to their own house, and they were smelling like that. And they heard ooh, and it was choo-choo train bringing. So they heard the whistle of the train that was bringing the daddy skunk from home, daddy skunk to home from Boston. And they had lime beans, celery, liver potatoes, and pie. Oh my, for dessert. So all these things were there for the dinner. And when Rosa Skunk was in bed, Mummy Skunk came up and hugged him and said he smelled like her little baby skunk again, and she loved him very much. And that's the end of the story. Finally, when they went to the bed in the night, Rosa Skunk went to the bed with her mother in the night. She was very happy as he was smelling like the original Rosa Skunk. But then the other little animals run away. Again, his daughter asked his daughter asked him, but again the little creatures would run away from him. No, because eventually they got used to the way he was and didn't mind it at all. So his father replied, no, actually they were addicted, they were familiar with the smell of Rosa Skunk, and that's why they couldn't run. What's eventually in a little while? Now once again she asked, actually she was confused eventually. Okay, so with the word that was spoken by her father, because eventually they got used to the way. So here the word eventually has come. she couldn't listen this particular word properly, and she pronunciated this word as eventually, and she asked her father, what is eventually? In a little while, his father replied, it means in a little while. So that was a stupid mummy. Now Joe said to her father that was a stupid mummy. It was not. He said with her rare emphasis. Now her father was insisting on the fact that she was not a stupid mummy, and believed from her expression that she realized he was defending his own mother to her. Now she was also realizing that his father was defending her own mother from her, or something as odd. Now I want you to put your big heavy head in the pillow and have a good long nap. Now Jack instructed, finally the story is over, go to bed, put your head on the pillow and have a sound nap right now. He adjusted the shade off so not even a crack of the day showed. So like we get to sleep in the dark very easily, that's why he also just put the curtains off and tiptoed to the door in the pretense that she was already asleep. He was just showing that that Joe was asleep, and in that pretense he moved away from there. वो ये दिखाने की कोशिश कर रहा था उसका फादर कि जैक जो है ना वो सो गई, तो वो उसकी जानकारी में बच्चे को ये दिखाते हुए कि मुझे लग रहा है कि तुम सो गई, वो वहाँ से जाने की कोशिश करता है। इनफैक्ट जो सोई हुई नहीं थी। फिर क्या होता है, in the pretense that she was really at sleep, but when he turned, she was crouching up on the top of the covers and staring at him. But when he turned back from the door, he found that she was couching on the top of the covers and staring at me. He get under the covers and fall fast asleep. Bobby is asleep. Now we come to know the name of her brother, that is Bobby. Bobby is already sleeping. Her daddy replied to her that Bobby is already asleep and you should also go to bed. She stood up and bounced gingerly on the springs and said, Daddy. So Daddy replied, watch. Tomorrow I want you to tell me the story that the wizard took that magic band and hit that mummy. Now once again you will repeat the story with my point of view. And tomorrow you will tell me the story in which with his magic band wizard also hit the mummy. Her plump arms chopped forcefully, and by this her plump thick hands of Joe was chopping forcefully right over the head like this. So he hit the baby mother. So no, that's not the story. The point is that the little skunk loved his mummy more than he loved all other animals. So what he just want to point out, that little creature loved her mother, his mother more than other animals, and she knew what was right, and her brother knew what is right for the baby. No. Tomorrow you say he hit that mummy and do it. Once again she repeated, no. You will tell me the story that she hit in return, and she kicked her legs up and sat down on the bed with a great heave and complained of sting. See, in the method of complaint, she sat down over there. And she had done hundreds of times before. She had done this particular activity hundreds of the time before, except that this time she didn't laugh and say Daddy. But this time the expression was genuine, and she said, please Daddy, do it for me. Well, we will see. Now tomorrow we will see. Now at least have a rest. Stay on the bed. You are a good girl. Now her daddy was appreciating her and tried to let her sleep. He closed the door and went downstairs. Claire had spread the newspaper on and opened the paint can, and wearing an old shirt of his on the top of her maternity smock. So she was wearing a shirt of Jack over her maternity shop and was just starting about to paint. Burke storing the chair rail and dripping brush. Above him, footstep vibrated and he called, Johnny, shall I come up there and spank you? The footsteps hesitated. What was happening when Jack was coming down from the first floor to his wife Claire? Suddenly, Joe was also coming. So when he heard the noise in the from the upstairs, he returned and once again he warned, shall I come to you and shall I spank you over there? So that was a long story, Claire. Here on the ground floor, Claire said in a commenting voice, in a humorous voice, in order to make an irony. That was a long story, very long story. So the poor kid, he answered, and with the utter weariness, watched his wife labor. The woodwork, a case of the molding and rails and the baseboards all around them, was half old tin and half new ivory, and he felt caught in an ugly middle of position. And though he, as well as his wife, presence in the case with him, he didn't want to speak with her, work with her, touch her, or anything. So this is what actually here the circumstances. The previous circumstances are also given. First of all, Claire was painting the room. Okay, so rails means the portion of the room, like the upper border, like the lower border, like the bottom border of the room. All these moldings, railings, all these words are used for that. And half tin, half ivory, these lines expresses the difference between the child of prior age and right now. There is a difference. Prior, what happened, it was taught to the student, taught to the children that whatever their parents are teaching them is good. Nowadays, what is happening? Nowadays, the students are free. They can put their question, and we are more child-centered now. So this is what the last paragraph, the concluding paragraph is saying. I hope the chapter is clear to you. Still, if you have any query, you can ask and you can comment in the comment section, and I will definitely reply whenever I see it. Okay? Till then, keep learning and keep